Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today for this Dekra webinar on the digital transformation of quality management. We're going to get started in just a few minutes with our guests here and the presentation. So we will be recording this session as well as sending out a copy of the slides tomorrow to everyone who registered. If you know anyone who wasn't able to make it or who has to drop off early, they'll still be able to see the content. So we'll give people just another minute or two to join, and then we can get started. Okay, looks like we have a few people still joining, but we do have the session being recorded. So we got a lot of content to cover, so I think we can go ahead and get started. But thank you everybody for joining us for this webinar today on the digital transformation of quality management. We're really excited to share some information from Dekra and from some other experts on this topic. So just want to let you know that we do have the presentation recording, and we'll be sending it out in an email tomorrow along with a copy of the slides so that you can review it or share it with anybody else who you think may find it useful. So without any further ado, let me introduce our presenters today. We have Dr. Sem Onis, who is the Managing Director of Dekra Audits. He's going to talk to us a little bit about the certification process and a little bit about the overview of what's driving digital transformation. And then we have Faizi Ahmed, who's a consultant and auditor, who is going to talk to us about Industry 4.0 and how that affects the quality management systems. And then after that, from Bimser International, we will have Kevin DeVicci, Sam Watt, and Purva Desai, who are going to talk to us a little bit about some technological solutions to some of the challenges that are brought about by the digital transformation of quality management. So if you have any questions during these presentations, please go ahead and put them in the question panel on the side that you should see in the GoToWebinar tool. We'll take some questions at the end so that we can group them all together and ask our panel to share some information. So with that, I'll pass it over to Sem to get us started.
All right, great. Thank you very much, Marcus, for the introduction. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining our webinar today on the digital transformation of quality management. It's a pleasure for us to present on such a very exciting topic. And we hope that you will find the information here today insightful and start thinking about your digital journey and what you're currently doing with regards to your path towards digitalization, and maybe get some ideas from this webinar that you may take away where you can implement some of the methodologies or some of the topics that we're going to be covering today. As Marcus pointed out, we do have a lot of ground to cover today. I will take a few minutes to set the stage by introducing you to Dekra for some of you that may not be familiar with our organization. And I will also give you a very high-level overview of where we are with regards to Industry 4.0 and the journey that we have been through the fourth industrial revolution. And of course, we want to home in on some of the topics that are relevant to our world. As Marcus has also indicated, we are part of the audit organization for Dekra. So one of the things that you'll hear from me today will be some reflections from our auditors with regards to what's happening in industry. We have auditors that are out and about in the field, working with organizations that are very, very small, startup organizations, to all the way up to your enterprise clients. And taking a look at the audience today, we have a very broad spectrum of participants that are on the call that fit that category. But I think it goes without saying that digitalization and Industry 4.0 has or will have a significant impact on almost all of us, including Dekra. We are going through a major digitalization of our organization as well. And it is having an impact on how we operate and what we do today and how we're planning to conduct our business into the future. So without further ado, I'll just do a quick introduction of Dekra and also talk about some of the things that we're seeing from a Industry 4.0 perspective. So Dekra, we've been around the block a little bit. Just to give you an idea, we were established in 1925 to ensure road safety in connection with rapidly developing mobility. Today, Dekra stands for safety, security, and sustainability on the road, at work, and at home. We offer a variety of different services, but primarily we are one of the top 5 leaders in the world for testing, inspection, and certification. You can see a short history of where we have been to where we are today. I won't get into the details, but as we share these documents with you all, if you have any questions, we'd be more than happy to answer them.
Please leave a message after the tone.
Oh, it's somebody's voicemail. Marcus, if you could maybe mute the audience, or whoever has a voicemail going on, if you could mute yourself. So coming back to us, the component or the business unit that we represent is Dekra Audits. As I mentioned earlier, we are a certification body, and we operate globally for all the known ISO standards that you are probably familiar with, starting with quality management systems all the way up to some of the most relevant ones today, information security management systems. So we have been an accredited certification body under ANEB for past 25 years. However, within the Dekra umbrella around the world, we hold over 200 accreditations. So anything that your organizations may be accustomed to or working towards, Dekra is most likely holding an accreditation somewhere around the world. So, next slide. Another thing that I wanted to mention before we get started is we are a leading training organization with regards to ISO standards as well. We do provide lead auditor courses, internal auditor courses, and of course, with the pandemic, you can imagine all of our courses are readily available online and can be obtained by individuals anywhere around the world. So historically, we've always done face-to-face trainings, but today we've optimized our courses so that it can be readily available anywhere around the world. So, it's interesting. Most of you probably have heard the term industrial revolution by now. It's nothing new. Just to take a look at where the terminology is coming from, it's about 10 years old already, believe it or not. And it was coined by a German researcher in one of the shows in Germany in 2011, and fast forward, 5 years, Boston Consulting Group started talking about industrial revolution, right? Industry 4.0. And this chart right here, going back to 2016, is really talking about what's coming down the pike, right? We're talking about autonomous robots, simulation, systems integration, IoT, cybersecurity. I don't think you can turn on the news anywhere in the world today and not hear about cybersecurity incidents. Of course, operating in the cloud, additive manufacturing, augmented reality, big data analytics. And, of course, when you look at all of these, it can be kind of mind-numbing, the amount of technologies that are out there, the amount of things that you can do. So most organizations that are in the process of digitalization are really, asking themselves, what's in it for me, right? And of course, some of the things that you should consider when you're embarking on these type of objectives, projects is, you should be looking to do these to improve productivity, reduce your costs, increase collaboration, increase flexibility and agility within your organizations, and of course, last but not least, improve your quality and compliance to standards and of course regulations within your operations. Today, if we wanted to home in on, how do we do these things? And of course, BCG has outlined 9 of these technologies, but we wanted to focus on some of the more relevant ones that we're hearing about day in and day out. And of course, top of the list is artificial intelligence, AI. In addition to that, IoT is connectivity of all things that we know of, and interoperability and communications among products, tools, machines that we've never seen before. Next on the list is machine learning, as well as robots, robotic process automation, 3D printing, RFID sensors, of course, are all of these things that we could start leveraging and optimizing our processes and procedures to improve our operations. So as an audit organization, we took the advantage of, taking the temperature of our auditors, as I mentioned earlier, to see what are they seeing. They're out and about in the field. They're talking to some of you that are on the call. They're engaging with organizations of all kinds of sizes and scopes. So we wanted to find out from them, okay, this is great on paper that, industry feels that these things are happening, but are they seeing it live in action? So some of the results may be interesting to you, so we'll share it now. And then what I will do is at the end of my presentation, I will hand it over to Sage, who is a very experienced auditor in the field. And Sage will go into the details of what he has seen over the years as an auditor in the field. Next slide. Okay, so of course, before I get to the slide, information is, fast forward from 2006 to now, the current status of where we're at. And you can take a look at any business journal. I just took a sample one from Forbes. And in July of this year, we're talking about the 4th industrial revolution is happening now. And I think that goes without saying that we are in the middle of this 4th industrial revolution. There's a lot of change that is happening within organizations, industries, and even in government. And most likely, some of you that are already on the call are doing a lot to tackle these and implementing these within your organizations. Okay, the survey results from our auditors. As you can see, some of the leading feedback that we got from our auditors when we asked them within the last few years, what technologies have you personally witnessed in industry as major change? They've identified 3D printing. I think from the early days of Industrial 4.0, 3D printing was probably one of the leaders coming out of the gate. But today, our auditors are also seeing RFID being used in operations. And, I don't think it's surprising to see that artificial intelligence hasn't made its way up to the rankings yet. But without a doubt, once artificial intelligence is more standardized, and there are laws and regulations around controlling artificial intelligence and how societies and organizations can benefit from artificial intelligence, I think we're going to see much more usage of the artificial intelligence becoming part of our day-to-day lives. For some, it is already part of our day-to-day lives, but I think it will be in industry in the short time in front of us. How will process digitalization and automation in industry change auditing? So the results from our auditors is quite obvious. Most of them, almost 100% of them, felt that they will be changing how they conduct audits, and the degree will vary from incremental to significant change in the field. Moving to the next slide. Of course, with the introduction of connectivity of all devices possible, and also availability of data or the tracking of data, we've asked the question of how is the abundance of data impacting the goals and objectives of the organizations you audit? And as you can see, the answers were either very, very much or significant impact on the goals and objectives of organizations. On both ends, we've had no impact as 1%, and paralysis by analysis as 1% as well. I think we are getting more clever on collecting the data, but we're also able to manage the data, analyze it, and apply technology, AI technology, to understand what the data is trying to tell us as well. And the next question is, will our auditors be changing their methodologies, or have they changed their methodologies based on the digitalization and automation of our customers' processes? And as you can see, without a doubt, majority of them have already adopted their auditing methods to be in line with our customers' needs. All right, last slide here. And this goes in line with the digitalization and connectivity of all processes in the field, obviously. But when we're talking about connecting to the internet, especially machinery or processes that were not connected previously, we as business leaders must ensure the protection of the data that is being collected, especially customer data that is now available on the internet or connected through devices that can be accessible through the internet via hacking attacks. And we asked the questions to our auditors: do you see organizations implementing ISO 27001 for information security management systems to protect critical assets such as data? And as you can see, majority of them are also saying that yes, we are seeing information security becoming a strategic thing, and that clients are implementing standards and controls to ensure that the data that they are receiving from their customers or the data that they're collecting is protected. Some of the feedback that we're also getting from our auditors is that Department of Defense is really coming down hard on suppliers. There is a program out there that's being developed, CMMC, Cybersecurity Maturity Model Certification. It's been in the works since late 2019, but the projection is that about 300,000 suppliers to the Department of Defense by the year 2026 will be certified through the CMMC certification scheme. Right now, there's an accreditation body. There are a handful of certification bodies that have been approved under the program, and we see that it is going to continue to develop over the next few years to become a very important thing for organizations that are either directly or indirectly working with the Department of Defense. And one of our auditors actually mentioned that the change that we're going through right now with digitalization and Industry 4.0 is that it's as significant as the telephone or the airplane, what that has done over the years for us personally and also in the business realm. And if we look at the comments about the future of auditing, one of our auditors commented that the future of auditing will be hugely impacted due to digitalization of manufacturing and service industry. Our clients will be expecting that auditors will perform more frequent monitoring of management systems with tools such as cloud-based auditing, use of analytics, machine learning, AI, to provide actionable insights to address potential risks. I think it goes without saying that there will be a varied way of auditing, and we as Dekra will continue to evolve and introduce new methodologies as we see our customers' needs for different types of methodologies. One of the things that that I can talk about before I hand it over to Faizi is the use of remote auditing techniques that have evolved or fast forwarded, especially within the last year. As Dekra, we've conducted remote audits under accredited schemes for over 3 years. However, with the onset of the pandemic, it's fast forwarded, and today we're probably at about 75–80% of our field work is conducted through remote auditing methodology under the accreditation protocols. And the feedback that we're getting, not only from our customers, but there was an IAS survey that was done of certification bodies, accreditation bodies, where a lot of the respondents, and also certified customers, where a lot of the respondents provided feedback stating that they are getting the benefits of an audit conducted through a remote methodology. They're able to remain and maintain their certification status, but they're also benefiting from not having the travel-related expenses associated with an audit. And last but not least, conducting very, very focused audits that are extremely helping organizations to meet their objectives, right? There's not a lot of the free time that's associated with planning and conducting the audits, but when you're conducting remote audits, it's really scheduled to the minute and also very focused on the objectives that you're trying to achieve. So, but I would not be able to do it justice. I think Faizi, our next speaker here, will be getting into the weeds of how he's seen the development of Industry 4.0 from his perspective. So with that, I'll hand it over to you, Faizi, for the next part of our presentation.
Thank you, Dr. Sam, for the overview of the fourth industrial revolution. Hi, everyone. My name is Afaq Ahmed, and I go by a nickname Faizi. I'm the principal consultant and trainer at Torque. I'm a senior member of American Society for Quality. I'm also certified by the Society as a manager of quality and organizational excellence, quality engineer, quality auditor, and I've been a registered QMS lead auditor for almost 20+ years. I'm very excited to be one of the panelists today to talk about the Industry 4.0 impact on auditing of the management system. So with that, let me go with the outline of the presentation. So I will be answering 2 questions in this presentation. The first one is the impact of the Industry 4.0 technologies on how we audit. And the second one is the impact of the Industry 4.0 technologies on what we audit. As we all know that the internet revolution started in mid-1990s, and that connected people worldwide with computers, and then later on with handheld devices such as cell phones and tablets. That was a transformation in communication. The fourth industrial revolution is next level up. It's connecting people not only with computers, handheld devices, but also with machines. So we can say this is a beginning of a revolution in machine and human interaction. On the industry side, Industry 4.0 is a blending of traditional manufacturing and the advanced technologies. Fourth industrial revolution have different names. It is also known as digital transformation, digitalization, smart factory, etc. The advanced technologies that were mentioned by Dr. Sam in his presentations are not standalone technologies. They are linked technologies. For example, if you look at a fully automatic robotic system, that system is controlled by artificial intelligence, which is the decision-making engine behind the system. It also runs on the machine learning algorithms, which predict the outcomes of the processes, and the cloud computing, which stores the data and provides the analytics for the machine learning model. Of all the technologies, I would like to talk to you very briefly about the machine learning. Machine learning is actually an algorithm. What is a computer program that has the capability to analyze data and predict outcomes? Just imagine if there is an AI and machine learning driven model that can predict outcomes of management system processes, assist in making real-time decisions based on facts, and the same concept we can apply to the audit process and the recommendation that comes out from the audit process. Now you may be thinking, what's the big deal about machine learning? Because the computer programs have been used for many, many years now. The main difference between traditional computer programs and machine learning model is that the machine learning model learns from new data without being programmed, unless there is a big change in the features or the big change in the variations that the machine learning model has to use in order to predict the outcome. Sorry about that. So the audit field itself has gone through a transformation. In the very beginning, the audits were done using a checklist audit. Then the process audit approach was developed and implemented. And now we have Audit 4.0. The Audit 4.0 is the digital integration of artificial intelligence, communication technology, information technology with the entire ecosystem of auditing, which includes clients, auditors, certification bodies, accreditation bodies, and standard writing organization and others. So that brings me to my first question, that is, what is the impact of the Industry 4.0 on how we audit? So the current audit practice is that auditors would usually take an annual sample of management system processes, and from those management system processes, they would take a certain sample. And obviously there is a time constraints because auditor need to follow an audit schedule. With the Audit 4.0, that can change. Instead of having annual sample of management system processes, there could be frequent to continual monitoring of the processes. And the auditors will also be able to take a larger sample size. And of course, as we know, larger the sample size, more will be the confidence on the results of the audit. Now you may be thinking, how is that possible? Well, that is possible by real-time streaming data from the client to the cloud and by leveraging technologies including advanced analytics, artificial intelligence, and machine learning. And the system would have some sort of a red flag or alert system for detected anomalies. So the auditor can look at these anomalies and they can make a determination whether there's a need for an action or not. Continuing on with Audit 4.0, I would like to share with you 3 levers of the Audit 4.0. The first lever is the Audit Apps. The Audit Apps are intelligent and self-learning apps that can predict the potential processes to grow. So instead of having a predetermined audit plan, the auditor would have the processes that are highlighted by the system as the most risk processes and the processes that have been detected, that have detected anomalies. This audit app can also automate the audit planning process as well as the audit scheduling process. Lever number 2 is the cloud-based auditing. And the cloud-based auditing will provide the actionable insight for the audit process versus process or checklist interview questions. The lever number 3 is augmented reality, which can provide access to auditors on audit standards, management system documents, audit documents, and other audit-related information with the help of the variables. Here are some of the benefits of the Audit 4.0. Because of the continual monitoring of the management system processes and taking a large sample size of audited processes, that will have a higher confidence on audit results. It would increase the efficiency of auditing process because of the 3 levers that I just talked about in the previous slide. And of course, the results of the audit will be in real time because the input to the audit process will be based from real-time streaming of data. And most importantly, it will relieve the auditor from burden of providing reasonable assurance from limited sampling in limited time. That brings me to my first question. What is the impact of the Industry 4.0, what we audit? And in that regard, I would like to share with you 2 case studies from a smart factory audit. The first case study is of a fully automated robotic cell, AI control. And the second one is the maintenance of production machines using streaming of data through sensors, then which is then communicated to computers and machine learning algorithm. So in a smart factory, one will come across new robotic employees, such as robotic inspectors, robotic forklift drivers, and there are new form of robots. They are called collaborative robots, also known as cobots. Cobots can work side by side with humans performing operations such as packaging, stacking, unloading, loading, and screw driving, and other operations. Now, in a traditional factory auditor, an auditor can walk up to a welder or a packer or assembly operator and start the interview process to collect the objective evidence needed for the audit and follow the audit trail. Well, in the smart factory, it's not the same case. Robots and cobots, as we know, cannot be interviewed. Well, as of now, but it may be possible down the road that an auditor can walk up to a robot or a cobot and start the audit process. So how does an auditor follow an audit trail? So in a conventional welding shop, auditor can talk to human welders about their education, training, and experience. But in a fully automated robotic system, auditors may have to look at the system controls. They may be talking to the programmers. They may be talking to the setup technician. And let's look at some more areas that an auditor can probe during the audit of an automated robotic system. So here are some of the areas that an auditor can probe. Well, he can maybe start by off-site review of process controls and action taken on alarms set off by the automatic robotic system. And once he is on board at the client site, he may ask, what is the process of determining that an assembly is acceptable for a robotic welding process? Because all welding processes are not cannot be qualified for an automatic robotic system due to constraints. He can also ask about how the variation in the assembly due to heat distortion are addressed, because in larger welding assemblies, because of the heat, the assembly is going to have slight distortion. An expert welder, he can make slight adjustment to produce an acceptable welded assembly. But that's not possible with a robotic welding cell. So in the robotic welding cell, usually they have a sensing technology that accounts for the slight variation in the assembly due to the heat. Then another area that an auditor can look at is the tracking technology capability, because the robotic welding arm needs to follow a certain path in order to make sure that welding is done according to the weld maps. So it's important to talk about the tracking technology that is being used in order to make sure that the robotic arm carrying the welding torch is following the right path. Now, usually after a welding process, there's a deburring or grinding process. So in a smart factory, that is usually done by a robot. So that's another area auditor can probe. And also the inspection in a smart factory is done by a robot, and that's another area for the auditor to probe. That brings me to my next case study, which is the audit of a production equipment maintenance process. So in a smart factory, the equipment maintenance is usually done using a predictive maintenance program. In a conventional factory, typically maintenance is done using a preventive maintenance program. So what's the difference? In the preventive maintenance program, machines are maintained at regular intervals regardless of machine condition. For example, there would be a regular schedule to lubricate certain parts of the machine, to tighten certain nuts and bolts, and even replace certain components such as oil filters, air filters, belts, bearing, etc. In the predictive maintenance program, maintenance of production equipment is done by predicting breakdowns, by detecting them at their early stages. So some of the areas that an auditor can probe during the audit of a smart factory in which the maintenance is done using a predictive maintenance models, he can ask about the accuracy and reliability of sensors. These sensors are installed on each machine to monitor the performance of the equipment. And they may be monitoring parameters such as machine vibration or the sound that's coming out of the machine or the temperature within the machine. Because as we know, if in most of the rotating equipment, if the bearing starts to fail, there could be a big change in the vibration. Or if there is a problem in the oil supply, the temperature of the machine can also rise. So those are the areas that an auditor can probe on. And he can also ask about how is the data that is collected is visualized and interpreted. Now that is very important because as we know that sometimes there could be false alarms. So the maintenance staff, they need to have the capability to be able to interpret the data and then decide whether the equipment requires service. The auditor can also look at how our alerts, warnings, and health check data are communicated. And there are so many other areas that an auditor can probe. Because of the time limitation, I guess I'm going to move on to the next slide. So to summarize, back in 2015, there was a article by McKinsey which says that Industry 4.0 is more than just a flashy catchphrase. It's a confluence of technologies that promises to reshape the way things are made. Fast forward to 2021, COVID-19 has speeded up the digitalization transformation. Every organization needs to carefully evaluate the benefits of Industry 4.0 and also look at the challenges. And I tell you, there are few challenges that organizations need to address before they start transforming to the Industry 4.0. And one of the biggest challenges is obviously the data security and the trust. So I leave you with a food for a thought. What do stakeholders need to do to transform to new audit paradigm to make it value added for clients? Thank you very much for listening. I hope you liked the presentation. And with that, I'm going to hand over the microphone to Kevin. Kevin, please take it away.
Thank you very much for the presentation. I appreciate it. Let me want to make sure if I'm sharing my screen. Okay. Will you see my slide?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, perfect. Okay, great. Thank you very much. Thank you for very informative presentations earlier to Sam and to Daisy. I appreciate it. So my name is Kevin Deveci, and I am the Managing Director of Bimser International. Today, I am with my colleagues. I have Sam Butt with us, our previous software engineer, also another engineer from our team. Torva Desai is also with us. So three of us, we joined today to talk about digital transformation. So I know we have limited time, so I'll basically present the slides as quick as possible. And you may also have questions. I received some questions before, so I'll be happy to also address your questions moving forward when it is time for Q&A. So digital transformation is a very popular subject. And when we think about it, just like Daisy mentioned, due to COVID-19, the transformation is actually is faster than before. So that is a reality. And also because of the fact that we are working remotely and we are working in a hybrid model, that also actually increase the speed of digitization and transformation in the marketplace. So let me actually talk about who we are, what we do on a high level. We are actually a software publisher. We are a technology company. And we are also ISO 9001 certified and ISO 27001 certified. So we also have a quality management system in place. We are also a member of American Society for Quality. So we are also part of quality management community. So we also practice QMS. We are actually part of the quality management community. In addition, we created technology that's actually helping quality managers and quality professionals on daily basis. So what we do is basically we are talking to companies almost weekly basis from North America as well as from different regions to understand what type of challenges they have in terms of quality management, in terms of digital transformation. And we have been helping organizations for many, many years. So that's actually where we are coming from. So moving forward, the information that I'll be sharing with you actually very practical. So we learn from the market, we learn from companies just like yourself, we learn from quality managers and professionals just like yourself, and we help them on daily basis. So the knowledge that we accumulated today that we would like to share with you in the next 15-20 minutes actually coming from the market itself. So that is a practical information, practical knowledge that we like to share with you. Hopefully you'll enjoy it. So as an organization, as Bimser International, we are an enterprise software publisher since 1998. We have global presence, so we are actually very active in North America as well as Europe, Africa, Australia, Asia as well. So that is actually one of our advantages, that we are actually learning from many different markets, many different professionals in terms of digital transformation and quality management. This is all we do, as you see on the slide. So we actually make software, but we are very, very focused. So we create a workflow engine to help organizations go digital. We have a plan maintenance management, asset management software to help companies perform preventive and predictive maintenance, just like I mentioned earlier in the presentation. Also, quality management is one of our expertise as to perform quality management digitally with QDMS, and that is also another software system that we create. So this is actually where we are coming from since 1998, that we are actually very focused in that sense. And we have been working with many different organizations. Some of the organizations that we are working with actually mid-sized companies. Some of them are large organizations, enterprise level organizations with multiple locations and multi-continent operations. We work with many different organizations. So in that sense, our experience from mid-sized companies to enterprise companies to help them adopt digital transformation and digitize their quality management operations. So moving forward, let's talk about digital transformation a little bit. We hear it a lot in the marketplace. We also read about it from different publications and different research materials. So actually, for us, the way that we look at digital transformation is actually this one simple sentence that we get it from Harvard Business Review, which is actually practical as well. So that is, digital transformation is adapting an organization's structure and culture to capture opportunities enabled by technology. And there are benefits of adapting digital transformation, and we live in it nowadays because of COVID-19, because we are working remotely and in a hybrid model. You can actually become more competitive with the help of digital transformation. You can actually reduce costs, you can be more productive in the marketplace. And also you can increase customer satisfaction and marketplace. These are the benefits coming with adopting digital transformation. And that is a journey. It's not happening overnight. However, we need to all, as an organization, start from somewhere to adopt digital transformation. And then we look at it, actually, digital transformation itself is actually a multidisciplinary approach. So it actually involves many different parts of an organization. So we are talking about customer experience, we are talking about procurement, we are talking about manufacturing. Also, not to mention, there is also the governance and leadership part of digital transformation adaptation process. So when we look at all these different departments, different activities, the most important part of digital transformation is leadership. At the end of the day, we have to have a goal and we have to have a clear direction as to where we are going with the technology that is available for us to use in the marketplace. So digital transformation is not only about technology, it is about direction, and it's about utilizing technology for your corporate goals. So that's actually where we are coming from when we are adopting digital transformation. And there are stages of adopting digital transformation. And in the next slide, I'll be talking about some stages. And I'd like you to think about your organization. Where are you at an organization in the journey of digital transformation? So in the beginning, organizations are actually in early stages of digital transformation, business as usual. So yes, there are different ways of doing things, works, jobs, tasks. And there are also legacy way of approaching operations, but there are different approaching different departments of the organization. So there is no coherent approach as to how to utilize technology towards a common goal. Moving forward, companies evolve and they start actually working on digital literacy and as well as creativity as to how they can actually utilize technology for their common goal. And moving forward, it actually formalizes. It actually becomes more official in the organization. So company organizations starts to focus on educating team members towards a common goal and supporting executives as well as team members with resources and technology in a more formalized way. And in the next stage, it becomes more strategic. Now, company understands how important it is to adopt digital transformation in the marketplace through collaboration, through knowledge share, and also through teamwork using technology towards the common goal. And then at the end of the journey, actually the company, the organization becomes adaptive, and actually it lives with the technology and digital transformation. So it becomes actually part of the organization itself. So from beginning to end, there's a journey, and it happens slowly. And when you think about your organizations, I'm sure you'll find your spot in your location in this basically journey. And then you can also think about how you can go to the next step, which is this is something to think about, and we see it in the marketplace all the time as to where companies are, how they're adapting digital transformation, and what part of the journey they are actually at. Moving forward, we like to talk about quality management as for digital transformation of quality management. So let's be more specific. So while we are actually performing quality management, while we are complying with various standards and certification requirements, there are also challenges that we see in the marketplace, and we learn it from the companies, just like yourself. So some challenges that we learn from companies, for example, too much paperwork. So all the policies, procedures, SOPs, we have them, but we improve our processes and we also change our documentation. So it's version. So version after version, year after year, it becomes really difficult for companies to manage paperwork. So that's why it's one of the challenges. And also, there may be some manual work as to maintain documentation as well. Not only too much paperwork, but the process, handling the process is also challenging for organizations. And having that much of data, the documentation, customer satisfaction, customer complaint records, audits, as well as training records, as well as calibration records, record after record. Most of the organizations that we see in the company, in the marketplace, if they don't have a central repository, they have challenge as to keep the records, keep the data in one place and learn from it to improve business processes. That's another challenge that we see in the marketplace. And sometimes also companies are busy, they do the operations, and they lose actually sight of the standards as well. So keeping these challenges in mind, the way that we look at digital transformation of quality management is actually threefold. There is assurance piece, that's actually what you are complying with. You may be complying with ISO 9001, you may be complying with ISO 27001. That is the assurance piece. And the control is putting the controls in place, whether you are manufacturing, whether in the administrative operations. And then the third piece is actually being predictive. That's actually when it comes to using smart sensors, IoT devices, is to become more predictive. Before anything breaks down, knowing about it. Before actually anything shuts down, understanding actually how it is doing. So utilizing the technology in a way that you can actually perform these three tasks in the name of digital transformation of quality management. And keeping all these in mind, digital transformation, challenges in the marketplace, as well as digital transformation of quality management, we have a tool called QDMS. That is our quality risk audit performance and compliance management software. And we have been helping organizations adopting digital transformation with our tool. So of course, when you go digital for quality management, there are benefits. Okay. For example, you can digitize all of your quality management system, and you can go paperless, as well as you can adopt various quality management standards in a digital environment. You may be compliant with ISO, you may be compliant FDA, you may be compliant ISO 9001, ISO 14001 at the same time. So all these can be also managed digitally. That's also critical. You keep your records, data digitally on one system, so you can always utilize this data for continuous improvement. You can study it and you can find ways to improve it. Also, you can use the data digitally for audit purposes, just like mentioned earlier in our presentation. So that is actually critical. Moving forward, you can also create a corporate memory. So as quality managers, one of the things that is actually very critical, as quality managers, you are responsible for running the quality management system. So if there is something wrong, then you are responsible. If something is going well, then that is your gain, that is your success. However, if you are not running your quality management system digitally, it is very hard to know in what department how they are following the quality management instructions, policies, procedures, SOPs, and so on. With a quality management software, you'll know who is doing what, who is actually really following the standards that you put and in terms of policies and procedures, who is actually performing the customer complaint process digitally, who is actually asking for a corrective action process, for example. You'll know all these digitally, which is actually critical as for managing the process. And it can be in any industry, by the way. It can be automotive, aerospace, as well as manufacturing, healthcare, medical device. So we have seen many different organizations in different industries. Challenges are the same. However, when you adopt digital transformation with a software, then the benefits are actually very common, and it's very important. And there are many different operations that we can address in the software. There may be a document management process, there may be corrective action, there may be training, calibration, and running these digitally, and also following up digitally as well. So you may, for example, like to take a corrective action. However, you need to also follow up that it's actually being done and it's documented. So you can also perform the efficiency test and follow-ups as well. So in this limited time, of course, we may have some questions. I'll be happy to address. I also put my email address on this slide. So if you'd like to continue this conversation, if you have any questions, you can definitely get in touch with me. You can see our website as well as our email address on the screen. So what I like to do is I like to invite my colleague, Purva Desai, so she can show you QDMS software just to give you an idea as to how actually it's helpful and how actually makes things easy in terms of managing documentation for quality management. Thank you very much.
Okay. And everybody, we are just approaching up on the top of the hour. So if you have to drop off, keep in mind that this is being recorded and we will send that out tomorrow. And so if you do, don't worry, there will be more content from Purva and Sam, as well as some questions we're going to answer at the end. So with that, back to you.
Thank you. Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Yep, thank you, Kevin, and thank you to the presenters earlier on. So I'm going to be doing a brief interview of QDMS. So QDMS is a web-based system and can be accessed using any web browser after deploying it onto your cloud or on-premise server. So it is also a permission-based system, so not everyone has access to everything in the system, and you can connect to what you're supposed to based upon your position, profession, department, and group. So right now I'm logged in as the administrator, so I'm able to have access to everything in the system. So after we log in here, we have our home page where we can have some quick access to our approvals and pending tasks. So we can just go ahead and click on one of the widgets and we have quick access to our documents for approval. And on our top left here, we have the main menu of QDMS where we have all the modules. So as you can see here, we have a lot of modules. So it consists of over 30 modules. And because of this modular structure, you can pick and choose the ones that you want to deploy on your cloud or on-premise server. So I'm just going to be starting off with the control document management module. So in this module, you can upload your control documents, for example, SOPs, specifications, training materials, procedures, policies, and so on to the system. And if there is any version update to your control documents, you can also start a revision process in this module. And you can also manage your folder structure based upon the document type, department, and location. So I'm just going to go ahead and show you one of the documents. So QDMS actually has a built-in browser that enables us to view our documents. And as far as document formats, QDMS consists of all document formats from Word, Excel, PowerPoint, PDF, audio, video, and so on. So here is our document. So as you can see up here, we have some other information related to the document, such as our document information. So here we have the document code, the name, the revision number, the document owner, the department that it falls under, as well as the document revision date and the approval date. And then we also have our revision information right here. So we can see the last revision date, who the revisor was, along with the approval and the approvers. And then we also have a permission matrix here. So once again, since I'm logged in as the administrator here, I can give certain access depending upon the user group and the position. And then we also have our approval list here. And lastly, we also have a history of our document where we can see the last process date, the process time, and the process type. So actually also in this module, we have a reporting tool available. So there's a reporting tool available for every module in QDMS. So I'm just going to quickly go over the document status report. So we can input the important criteria for the specific report before creating it, such as the document type, the status, the draft status, along with the parent folder and the document code. And we can also export this report to an Excel file. And we can use this tool up here to filter out any of our previous reports depending upon the document name or the document creator or the code. And now I'm going to pass it over to my colleague Sam to show some of the other modules in QDMS.
I can share my screen. Okay. And can you see my screen as QDMS?
Sam, we're seeing a Teams window.
A Teams window? Okay, so let me do it like this. All right.
Yep, there it is.
Okay, there we go. And thank you for joining today's webinar. And thank you, Poover, for your presentation and demonstration about the control document management module. And other than the control document management module, we also have different modules that allow you to manage your quality management activities digitally by using our system. For example, we have our corrective action module, as known as CAPA module. And you can manage and record all your non-conformity that you have recorded or that you find out in your organization and record it in our system. All your records will be shown in different status based upon the progress that you are dealing with this particular non-conformity. For example, like open and also like reviewed, follow-up, result, so forth and so on. So we can find all of those records in different status, and anytime we can review what we have recorded in our system by opening the report-like page. Think about like we are complying with ISO, and then the auditor, the ISO auditor, come to our place and ask us to show how we manage all our non-conformity or custom complaints, and then we can connect to QDMS anytime and anywhere by using our web browser and show them this record and this report. So QDMS record your non-conformity in detail, and also we can assign this task to a solution team, and the team has to file the first progress report, meaning the investigation, and defining the root cause, and also performing our corrective or preventive actions in order to cope with the root cause. If there is no other follow-up action is needed, then we can close this corrective action record accordingly. So you may find that QDMS takes you to handle your non-conformity step by step. And this is how we can manage our non-conformity by using QDMS. And also in our system, we have the training module and also the audit module. By using these two modules, we can always create a plan. And as for the plan, it's like the goal that we want to achieve. For example, we can create a PPE training. And as for PPE training, we might have different subjects that we have to cover. So that under a planning, we can create different training item or audit item, which I will show you in a minute on a high level. And this is one of the examples. The items of the training and audit is like the objectives that help us achieve the goal. So saying PPE training, and then we will cover different subjects like training about how to dispose of the PPE, how to maintain it, and how to use them. And while we are scheduling the training item to the trainer and also the trainee, we can also define like when we are going to have it, what is the time, and if there's any budget that for this training item, we can always record it digitally in QDMS. And the supporting documents can be uploaded right here as a Word, Excel, PDF, PowerPoint, PDF, and even video and audio. So that is how we can manage all our training in our organization. Furthermore, we can invite different attendees and, in another word, the trainee into these training items that we are creating. Furthermore, we can also record the attendance of this training. So seeing we can record like who joined this training in order to keep tracking all our employees receive or join the training that they are supposed to in order to make sure they have the enough skill set and knowledge in terms of the production of the company. Similar logic applied to the audit management module as well. So we can create different audit planning, and by using this module, we can perform our internal audit and also external audit, meaning like we can audit our supplier, vendor, or subcontractor. And seeing we have an internal audit, meaning we have to audit every single employee in our company. And they're in different departments, so that we can create different audit items in this module or under this planning and start inviting the auditor and auditee to this audit. Of course, we can define the audit date, time, and also the subject that we are going to cover in this by creating this audit item, and all the auditor and auditees will receive a notification in their own QDMS account and also in their email inbox. This is a two-way notification feature that we have in our system in order to make sure you will not miss any important task while you're using our system. And then the next feature to have is we can upload all our audit questions into the question pool of QDMS, and we can pick and choose the questions as a reference to the auditor, so that the auditor doesn't have to spend the whole week and like 5 pages of paper for auditing one employee. As you know, paper is not free. So it's cost you by the paper itself, the ink, and also the storage space. And therefore, by using our system, you will be ready every day for your audit activities of your company. And risk assessment is getting more and more important, especially while you're complying with ISO. It's become a must that you should have for your quality management activities. So that in QDMS, you can also find the risk assessment management module. And in this module, we can set up different risk assessment plan, meaning like what kind of risk that we should assess by using our system. So, for example, in this demo environment, we have the health and safety risk assessment. And as for this risk, the impact and also the likelihood are differ from the department, so that we can create different items under planning. As risk assessment is not a one-time job, we can always find the trend, and also the color is represented in green, yellow, or red, meaning how the impact and also the likelihood are for this record or for different departments. And while we are recording the risk assessment, you can also record the source of the risk, the impact, and also choose the impact, like how severe or how critical that will be from a scale, like a scale of 3, 5, or 7, and even 11, based on the actual operation of your company and also your expectations. QDMS has a native mobile application, that allows you to manage all these quality management activities by using your handheld device. So I'm going to put this on the screen that you can find, or how we can manage them by using our smartphone or tablet. So it is available for the mobile application. It is available for Android and iOS device, so that you can download QDMS Mobile from the App Store or the Google Play Store. And as you can see right here, we have QDMS mobile application, and we can open it up and connect to the QDMS with the same credentials that you log in by using your web browser, as they are going to and coming from the same database. And on the top left, you may find the main menu of QDMS, and you can start managing all your activities by using quality management activities by using this mobile application. It's come to the end of my demonstration. Thank you very much.
Thank you to Sam and Purva for showing us that demo. As I mentioned before, I know we had allotted an hour and we went a little bit over that, but I do have a couple of questions that have come in that I want to address if we can, and share at least with the remaining audience and those who watch the recording later. Sam, I think this one would be good for you. When we talk about, increasing automation, what changes do you think that requires in the audit process and the certification process?
Yeah, good question. Let's take a simple one: automation of processes. It requires introduction of software being introduced to processes and how data flows through the system. From our perspective, our auditors need to be mindful of how the processes are changing, right? I think what we're witnessing is that because of customer demands, because of internal demands to move to digitalization, digital platforms, a lot of the existing processes are being looked at and evaluated. And some of these processes may be in place for multiple years, but now more and more organizations are looking for opportunities of improvement in processes continually, and the changes are taking place more frequently than probably they used to in the past. And the introduction of robotics, introduction of, let's say, robotic process automation really needs to be looked at by a careful eye, internal auditors, external auditors, to say, how did the algorithms get developed? How did the instructions for what you do, what you're expecting for your automated procedures to do, needs to be looked at and evaluated from a careful eye, and be auditable. That's the other part. Of course, we can look at output, and we can look at the thoughts and the processes that went into the input, but we really need to see what are some of the algorithms that are involved, and who's putting them. Are they competent? Have they been trained? How familiar are they with the business itself, right? So the traditional business folks may not be acclimated with software development or how to introduce technology. So we bring in external parties, but they may not know the business itself. They may not know the processes. They may not know the need for having controls in place to meet, let's say, regulations or standards, internal, external. Therefore, there needs to be an extra care taken by the individuals that are introducing these new technologies of automation into the process. Back to you, Marcus.
Great, thanks for that. I also have a follow-up question for something that Faizi touched on in his presentation. How do you address and how do you consider how to adjust your sampling methodology, like you mentioned, when it comes to AI and machine learning?
Okay, that's a good question. Well, one of the things I talked about was the streaming of the real-time data and having a red flag system which can, identify some anomalies in the system. I think that would be provide the auditors with the questions or with the audit trail that they need to pursue during the audit. So having a continual access to real-time data or maybe more frequent monitoring, the auditor will have a large sample size of anomalies that they can follow up during their audit and use it for their audit trail.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. And then this one, I think any of you who want to tackle it can jump in, but how do you look at some of what we talked about today when it comes to organizations that are different sizes? Some are very small organizations that are just getting started with some digital processes, and then there are some that are multinational, hugely advanced. How do you take that into consideration and treat those differently while still getting a consistent audit?
Can I comment on it?
Sure.
Okay, so one of the things I talked about, new robotic employees, especially cobots. So, even for a small manufacturers, I think these cobots can be instrumental. Like during the time of the COVID, we saw that there was a constraint on the workers on the line. So I guess down the road, I think it will take some time. Although the cobots are being used in the industry right now as we speak, but I guess for the smaller manufacturers, it will maybe not cost effective. But the good thing is that some of these cobots, they can also be hired on an hourly basis or for temporary work. Like for example, right now we are running into a Christmas season. Everybody needs more people to do packing and stacking and things like that. And these cobots can play a big role in that, temporarily filling in for the requirement of the people to be able to process the customer orders.
That's great. And I think we covered all the questions that came in during our presentation today, but we will be sharing this recording and a copy of the slides with everyone who registered. So I want to thank everybody for attending, and I want to thank our panelists, Faizi Ahmed from Torque, and then Kevin, Purva, and Sam from Bimser International for sharing some of their expertise with us today. Thanks, everybody, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, Marcus.
Thank you, Marcus.
Thank you, Marcus.